I hope you're enjoying this delve back into our Premier League archives with us. We've just watched Leeds United beat Liverpool 4-3 from the season 2000-2001. This tweet has come in. You can tweet us at Sky Sports News using the hashtag MNF Retro. You are messing with my son's head, says Shell Williams. He's 7 years old, at home in self-isolation in his full Leeds kit, playing FIFA on his Switch. When you say Leeds are fourth, he jumps up and shouts, "What?" My husband says it's okay, mate. It's 20 years ago. Yes, it was, but we've all enjoyed looking back on it, and we've still got, from that same season, Manchester United and Arsenal to come. But Jamie Carragher was involved in that game. He's in Manchester tonight with Gary Neville, and it wasn't all bad. That was a setback in a season, Jamie, in which you actually finished above Leeds United and won a cup treble. I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah, it was. Listen, I always say that season was my favourite season when I'm speaking to, you do a show with Liverpool supporters or something. And the reason being, and I say that, people always expect to say 2005, but 2005 was one moment in such way. So you've obviously got your season in 99. But the thing about what we did and obviously what you did, and before anyone gets on to me or start getting tweeted by Man U fans, okay, that was the real treble, if you like. But it's a season that you're winning every week. Now, your trophies don't come till the end of any season. But it's that thing, and you know what it's like, where when you win over weekend or you win midweek, you just come into training ground, everyone's in a good mood, everyone's sort of bouncing off each other. And that's why I always say that's my favourite season. And I sometimes think, probably you're best to ask, because we're in the middle of it. If you're outside that, looking at that, are you seeing that as like a big achievement, or are you just thinking, oh, they're only cups, it's not the European Cup, it's not the league? Was it almost dismissed from outside in some ways what we did in that season, Liverpool?
No, I'd gone on a holiday to Malta at the end of that season when you were playing the FA Cup, and it bugged me a little bit. I remember it bugging me. I do remember it. I do remember actually coming off my sunbed to actually watch the FA Cup final and thinking, oh. And I think any time Liverpool won a trophy, it annoyed us, because obviously there was that feeling that were you getting closer? It was always the one that we feared coming back, if you like. No one ever saw the Manchester City thing coming in the sort of late 2000s. But for Liverpool, you always felt like you were getting closer, then you dip off a little bit, then you were getting closer, then you get off a bit. So when you win trophies, we always knew that could build a momentum, it could build a confidence that you could then start to, get your recruitment right from them. But just for me at Liverpool, it always felt to me that every time you got close, you either lost players or you didn't recruit well. I don't know if that's felt the same for you.
No, that was the story of that team, because the next season we bought one player, it was John Reece. I think Gerard Houllier had felt that team had done so well. Yeah. It was difficult to then go and change the team so much. He brought Gerard Reece, and the next season I think we finished above you in the league, and Arsenal won the league. But we got to the quarters of the Champions League. We should have got through, actually, and we would have played you in the semi, I think, by Leverkusen with the team at that stage. And I just think at that time, if things didn't go well for you, you had an ability, because you were Manchester United, probably also financially. I think that season you just went Rio Ferdinand 30 million. Yeah. I think that was the summer. Whereas we sort of probably spent that money, but on about 4 players, and you almost needed them all to work, and it didn't quite work, and that was possibly the end of Gerard Houlier's time. Looking back,
it did always feel like you were toying at it a little bit in the transfer market, that you wouldn't quite go for the best players. There was a feeling you either couldn't go for the best players because financially you didn't have the money, or you couldn't attract the players to come to Liverpool because Arsenal were better, we were better. You know what I mean? And it just, you weren't at that time attractive to come to as a club because you were sort of not won the league for a number of years. I don't know whether you thought it was, which one you thought it was, but it always felt to me like you were toying with it in the transfer market. If the market was at 13 million, 15 million, Liverpool were at 8. If the market was at 25, you were at sort of 16. You're never quite up there with
I always used, I think us and Arsenal were pretty similar in what we were spending. I think you probably spent more than us, and you were Manchester United at the time. I said just go Rio. Yeah. And the way I look at it, and to be honest, the big difference between Wenger and Gerard Houllier, I absolutely adore, but I think Wenger was a genius in the transfer market. If you actually look at, we signed, and I'm not criticising the players we signed here because they were actually very good players for Liverpool, but if you think we signed Emile Heskey for about 11 million, Wenger signed Thierry Henry for 11 million. I think we signed Nick Barmby for 6 or 7 million. They signed Robert Pires for 6 or 7 million. So you see where I'm going with those type of players were then sort of, they got Sol Campbell on a free at that time. But you know, that type of thing where their signings was pretty similar fee-wise, but they just become superstars, but ours just become very good players. I think Wenger had an ability in the transfer market. I think it was just, that's why I think they competed with you, because they couldn't match you for money-wise. Really.
I think that's why, that's what shocked me in the last few years about what Jurgen Klopp's done, because up until the point where he went for Alisson and Van Dijk, Liverpool weren't quite going to the levels of the other clubs. The other clubs were at 60, 70 million, whereas Liverpool were at sort of 25, 30 million, maybe getting up to 35. All of a sudden, you know, you talk about the last piece of the jigsaw, and then all of a sudden Alisson happens, Van Dijk happens, then Alisson happens, and they were the last piece of the jigsaw in essence. It always felt to me, going back those 10, 15 years ago, you had that team that had Mascherano, Alonso, Torres, Gerrard, yourself, Hippier, Reina in net. And I thought, that's the one point where I thought, it's a hell of a team, this. Another one or two onto this, and then you really have. But then Alonso left, Mascherano left, and that team started to fall away, and then Torres obviously left a year or so after.
I think going back to that actual game and that particular season, though, really was that, you see Christian Ziege involved there. He was, when you talk about not going an extra way for a transfer, I think he was possibly the highest paid player in the Premier League at that time there. We signed from Middlesbrough for 5 million, he was on a huge chance. I think after that game, that was the end of him of playing left back for Liverpool. He ended up having to play left midfield and at times not play. I ended up playing left back. Was it the end of you
playing right back?
Well, it seems I ended up going to left back. But that was he was our big sort of, that was the first season, to be honest, where I really worried, or I wasn't up until that stage in the team every single game, and that was because we'd signed Babel, Ziege. We had a really strong, powerful back four, and I know you're looking at those goals going, but that team is built on being defensively solid and keeping clean sheets. I ended up going to left back really, but it is still, as I said, a season I look back and I'm probably undervalued, sometimes by Liverpool supporters also.